So good afternoon and welcome. This is the College of Pharmacy actual annual update or address for 2019. I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know you had a department meeting earlier, so we kind of sandwiched you in here in between the faculty meeting, which is next, but thank you for attending. For me, it's the end of year 2, believe it or not, and it kind of seems like it's a whole lot longer. It seems like some months are a year, but you fully understand that piece of the puzzle. It's a busy job some days. But I think looking backwards over time, over the last year, I think some reflection has been very helpful for me. And actually what I've done in preparing for today is actually for the last 2 weeks of evenings, sit down for a couple hours and think about things that we've done throughout the year to help develop this presentation that you'll see today. The good news is, if you were to come into my office and see my big easel, we got a big laundry list of great things that have actually happened in 2018 and 19. So it's a fun time to kind of look back at all the progress we made in the different areas. But what I decided to do is I probably wrote this presentation 3 or 4 different times, trying to get the right feel for where we're going and what we're doing. At the end of the day, one of the recommendations is maybe if you look at this through the lens of our strategic plan, and I did, it really kind of helped kind of create some buckets and put things in the right spot at the end of the day. And I think that approach was appropriate because that's actually what I did. I pulled out the strategic plan, began to go through it a couple of pages at a time, and actually things really began to go into some nice buckets. This is appropriate because actually if you think about what we've done probably starting 2 years ago, we spent probably 9 to 12 months to develop that strategic plan. It went through the entire faculty, it was approved by the faculty, and we funded it with $250,000 for year 1. And we will continue to fund that on an ongoing basis for the year 2 for another $250,000 and 3 with another $250,000. But the 4 areas, if you remember the strategic plan, the 4 key areas that we were going to focus on for the next year or so really were education, research and scholarship, outreach and relationship building, and operations and finance. So if we look at those 4 buckets, it really kind of comes together quite nicely. The first area that I really focused on here really was the topic of education, because there's no doubt in my mind the educational focus of what we do within the college is a great deal of our activities. I have to tell you, the single slide that I think I go to sleep thinking about, I wake up thinking about, and sometimes keeps me awake at night is this one right here. It's a bit of a busy slide, but really what it is, it's all good news, and it's the results of our first bunch of classes as they approach the NAPLEX. The 3 takeaways I want you to walk away with today really are very simple. Is that number 1, our board scores are literally nosebleed at the end of the day. Just to review, in 2016, our graduating class scored 4th in the nation. And stop and think about that for a moment. Rootstown, Ohio, 4th in the nation. 2018, 2 years later, they were 6th in the nation. Stop and think about that for a moment. Rootstown, Ohio, 6th in the nation. You meld those 3 years together, 16, 17, and 18, and you look at how we do just in the state of Ohio. We're first in the state of Ohio, top 10% in the nation, and that's for the full classes for those 3 years. So you look at where we are and what we've done, and there's no doubt in my mind that it's a very high-quality pedigree that we've created for our students when they graduate. You have to be pleased and proud with what you've accomplished. I think that what it tells me is that the curriculum is solid, the faculty deliver it well, the students master it, and the NAPLEX really just tests their knowledge as they exit the college, and I think everybody should be pleased and proud with what they do. You would think it would be time to celebrate that this is great, let's have a party, and the answer is, I think quite frankly the opposite. I think what most people are thinking is, how do we continue this, and where should we go here? Because it's all too easy to get to the top of the mountain and then begin to slide down. So at the end of the day, I think what a lot of people in the college are thinking about is how do we maintain this at the current level that it's at. One of the areas that we spend a great deal of time focusing on is really the org chart within the college itself. And a lot of folks have participated in a lot of meetings helping me think through what do we do on a go-forward basis. As a result, the org chart, as we've attended a lot of faculty meetings, has changed over a couple of month period of time, probably a 6-month period of time. And the goal really was to increase operational efficiency and yet also retain the results at the end of the day when our students graduate. So some of the things that have changed is we've seen some new offices develop. So one of the key things was we created the Office of Education, where Dr. Sue Bruce is actually the Senior Associate Dean for Education. A lot of the efforts within the college are going to be funneled through the Office of Education because that's a key piece of the puzzle that I think will support our success in the area. We also took program quality or assessment and student success and smashed them together to be a single office. A good smash though, Seth, don't worry about that. We're actually combining the two made a great deal of sense. Plus, I'm sure you're all aware that as you've watched the college over the last couple of months, there's been some new assets that are appearing on college. So Jackie Boyle is an assistant dean for student success. Lucas Everly is an assistant director for experiential education. Chris Paxos is the director of pharmacotherapy. So what we've really done is add some new assets in key locations. I think it's adds some strength to the team. There's no doubt it gives it some more depth at the end of the day. And what I hope it does, bigger picture, longer term, it adds durability to the college, and that team will be able to carry forward for probably, hopefully, maybe a 10-year period of time. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but I'm trying to believe that's true, but I think it does quite a few good things. So you see a lot of structural changes. In addition, in pharmaceutical sciences, there have been some changes also. After the departure of Jason Richardson, I studied the department to think about what should we do next post-Jason. And actually what he decided to do here is actually utilize a different strategy. As opposed to having a chair only bear all the responsibilities, and that's an awesome job some days, really what I ended up doing is kind of dividing and conquering. Where in essence we have Vanessa, who really is responsible for the curriculum. Sam is responsible for the research piece of the puzzle. And Moses is really providing a lot of administrative support at the end of the day. So I think dividing it into 3 parts has really helped that department. I watched that team work together over a couple of months, and I think they do great work together as a team, no doubt in my mind. I think the piece of the puzzle that you're going to see a lot of emphasis and a lot of work in is going to be in the Office of Education. And a lot of activities are going to be going through that. So for instance, Curriculum 2.0 is probably one of the biggest things that we've done to date, right? We spent a year to figure it out. We came up with a transition plan. It's going to take 3 years to roll it out. So you're going to see a lot of time and effort go through the Office of Education. So anything which is pharmacy curriculum based is going to be running through the Office of Education. As an important piece of that puzzle, as you roll out the new academic calendar, that's another key piece of the puzzle. It's a big chunk which has a lot of moving parts that has to be executed properly, and I think that's going to get some care and feeding through the Office of Education too. The last piece of the puzzle in Office of Education really is IPE. And for those who participated in a lot of the accreditation events, IPE has been amping up every couple of times that they come out with new standards. And most recently, the standards have probably been the most stringent that we have seen to date. How we responded to it is that we made IPE a priority in the college. In the standards, it has its own standard, and we're actually giving it a lot of special attention at the end of the day to make sure we get it right when they come back in probably now 5 more years. We're looking at making all of our efforts longitudinal in nature. I was just talking to Sue last week that I think we need perhaps a task force, if not a strategic plan, very specifically for interprofessional education to make sure we have a clear-cut path to follow. I think some of the other things that you see us doing is enhancing our relationship with Cleveland State. We've had a great relationship with the College of Medicine, but given the path that we have to walk, we need to look at other options, more locations, different professionals. So we're creating a relationship with the Cleveland State, which has been going great, and you're going to see it expand over time. I also think you're going to see some research opportunities appear related to IPE. And I know Sue was just meeting with Sue just a week or so ago, and I think you and the folks at Cleveland State submitted 5 abstracts to an IPE meeting and got 4 out of 5, so 80% is pretty darn good. So I'm really pleased with that. And also, I think you're going to see some future improvements over time. Having just traveled earlier this year on an ACPE accreditation site visit, trust me, they're doubling down on ACPE efforts. I'm sorry, on IPE efforts. So they want to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. And one of the things that we're talking about is identifying within the college or within our partner sites, for instance, a model IPE site. I've not found somebody who's done it yet. I think it'd be great for us to kind of focus some time and effort on it. But I think when ACPE comes back in a couple of years, it'd be great to have 1 or 2 or 3 where we can actually demonstrate what we do not only in the classroom, but actually in the practice setting. I think that would have a very positive impact on our results in that area. To help achieve some of the goals related to the educational strategic plan, we've really been focusing some time and effort in enhancing educational efforts through faculty development. And what we've been doing is basically preparing and sending several teams to a variety of meetings really for training and education. A couple of key meetings that we've been looking at is, for instance, the IPE Nexus Conference, which is in Minneapolis, really focusing on IPE. We had a team of 4 go to the Cypher Summer Institute at UNC, which really is focusing on evidence-based teaching and course design. We're looking at a faculty member who went to the Scholars Summer Institute in Morgantown, West Virginia, as well as doing some mentoring. So we, the college, very specifically in the area of education and in the area of faculty development, probably invested about $25,000 this year to focus on education and training of faculty members in specific areas that I think will benefit us longer term. as we begin to roll out the new curriculum with year 2 and go on beyond that, I think you're going to see a consistent pattern for what we need to do here. One of the key things, and I think this, I'm not sure this falls into education or not, but one of the key things that we've been focusing on really is points of pride. So you've probably heard that to date, and you're going to see more of that to date, but I think that's going to be probably one of our trademarks as time goes on. So it's called points of pride, or otherwise known as hashtag #Pop4Cop. Okay, that's what you're going to see. And really what this is this is a tool to share some of our successes and some of our stories. And although I'm not the wizard in this area, we're going to be looking at utilizing Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I think I can do at least one of those, okay? So maybe the millennials here can help us do the others, right, Chelsea? Madison? Very good. On that note, I think it'd be remiss, since we're talking about education, to not talk about some of our students that we recently departed. So from the class of 2019, in case not everybody knew, I think there were 2 key individuals that were shining stars in my eyes. Allison Dittmer was the Gonfalonian, she was the high student in the class, as well as Kurt Richards received the Bola Hygeia. Great students, did an outstanding job while they were here, and they continue to do great things. I think the highlight of the year is commencement, correct? It's a long day, it's a Saturday, it's an extra effort, but I tell you, it's the excitement in the room is just huge. And if you think about what we've done to date, we've had 9 graduations so far. I was so hopeful we would hit 600 alumni this year, and darn it, we missed by 1. So I'm going to have to talk to somebody on the CAP committee about that. But we had 599 to date. I thought we would hit 600. And the picture in the lower right-hand side, I actually think that was a selfie from the Hooders. Is that correct? And it was interesting because the person who sits at the 3 o'clock spot, you all recognize that gentleman, correct? You, Dr. Darvish? I texted him 2 days ago to say, so how many times have you been a Hooder, in the commencement? And his response back was, first of all, I'm in India. So I thanked him for, I'm not sure what time it was in India, because it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. But he said 7 of the last 9 years. And I thought, wow, that's great. And then about 2 minutes later, he sent me a third text, and he goes, oh, by the way, I want to let you know it's 7 consecutive years in a row. And that's just Althoff. I think he's very pleased and proud. And when I was thinking about him, I guess what I would call Althoff, I think he's what I would call our longitudinal anchor in terms of being a Hooder. He is just recognized so many times, it's amazing. But he does what he does well, and I think the students recognize him for what he does. I also want to raise to your attention the fact that we actually had some Medical Mutual scholars this year graduate. If you remember, 5 years ago, Medical Mutual donated $1 million to the College of Pharmacy really to offset tuition. So basically 14 students went through the program almost tuition free. Half graduated this year, so this is 6 of the 7. So half graduated in 2019, and next year the other half will graduate in 2020. I was recently contacted by Medical Mutual to get an update, so I sent them the photo, sent them some details, and actually in their newsletter for their company, they published this information, which was great stuff. It's good for us. Another piece of the puzzle, which I think is great, is our residency activities. Our match results are consistently good from year to year. And we've had some superb results at the end of the day. If you look at the national average, it's on average 58 to 60%, so maybe 2/3. We've consistently seen 70 to 90% at the result from Neomed grads, so I think we do a great job in the area of match. My comment as I was thinking about this is our match celebration, I guess I would say, is just a little bit different than medicine's, correct? Just a little bit lower intensity at the end of the day. We don't have numbers doing the countdown. We don't have people jumping on chairs. I think at the end of the day, ours is they come in with their parents, and it is a great time, and it's a great event, which I think is very unique to the College of Pharmacy. We consistently have a strong Ohio showing. So if you see where our students go, many of them come from Ohio. They do residencies in Ohio, a few out of state from time to time, but we consistently have a strong showing here in Ohio, which I think supports the university as well as the college mission at the end of the day. Another piece of the puzzle that I think demonstrates our emphasis in education really is what we do on a statewide basis. So most folks know that actually here in Ohio we have 2 professional organizations in Ohio. OPA, which is really the Ohio Pharmacists Association, so that really is for community pharmacists. And OSHP, these are health system pharmacists, so institutional. And what was unique that I saw this year for the first time, it's what I would call an OSHP Grand Slam, correct? So for the people who are on the slide, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because this year, in 2019, we had a student receive a scholarship from OSHP. That's Lily Trong up there. We had Dr. Monte Sorek became the Practice-Based Research Award. Is that correct? Chris Paxos was up there, received a Preceptor of the Year Award. I think it was the inaugural Preceptor of the Year Award. Dr. Boyle was the immediate past president, so Jackie was up there. And actually the fifth one, because there were 5, there's only 4 on the slide. You'll see the 5th one in a minute. But a NeoMed alumni was the Pharmacist of the Year for the state of Ohio for OSHP. So when I look at this slide and I think about what it means, to me, I look at this and I call it the OSHP Grand Slam, and I think that's true. Despite all that facts, we are having some departures from the college for a variety of reasons. So the VSP is heading in a couple of different areas. We have a variety of staff members who are leaving. So Jackie Hart, Betty Gowan, and Debbie Frank. And in addition to that, we are having some faculty losses too. So Denise Inman and Dan Krinsky. And I think that we certainly as a college wish you all the very best wherever you're going. And I want to thank you for all your services to the College of Pharmacy to date. So thank you all for all that you've done. So in the area of education, I think we've had really a strong year with a lot of great results, and I think it's evident in the last couple of slides. I think the next area I want to spend a few moments to talk about is research and scholarship. So just to be consistent with what we're doing, let's talk about some points of pride. So you're going to see this a couple of times today. I think what's very unique that happened this year that you saw is a lot of abstracts, a lot of posters, a lot of podium presentations at national meetings traditionally are done by pharmacists, residents, and so forth. And what we saw this year is really kind of unique and very rare is that we had students actually draft an abstract, get a poster submitted, and go to APHA in Seattle in March. And actually, this is the photo of our 2 students. This is Colleen Miller and Dana Webb. So the 2 P3s and 2 P4s actually had a poster presentation related to the SOAR clinic. And the title was Interprofessional Student-Run Free Clinic at the end of the day. Number one, I thought just the fact they got accepted was cool. Okay, very cool. You don't see that very often. And in addition, what they did was, if you see the big yellow ribbon, actually they received a National Practice and Management Merit Award, so which is very rare. I'm not sure you see a lot of residents do that, but students to do this and get that level of recognition was huge. I think this speaks well of both the College of Pharmacy and the College of Medicine because it truly was an IPE poster. In addition, although we don't have her slide here, Taylor Engelhardt actually received a Merit Award, and she was a Merit Award semifinalist. So NeoMed had a great showing when it comes to the research piece of the puzzle, things that are ongoing. I also want to take a moment to shine a light on some faculty. So just to reflect back over the past year, Christine Krish was a recipient of the 2018 Junior Faculty Award. That's high praise. It's something that one earns over time. It represents dedication to her teaching as well as her research, and I think I'm very pleased that the College of Pharmacy was the individual who received that award. So I'm not sure I see Christine here today, but not here today. But I just want to say congratulations, and I think it's well-deserved that she got it. So I'm very pleased with that, too. We do have several promotions that I think we're also very proud of. In pharmaceutical sciences, we had 2 people who went up for tenure and or promotion. So as of July 1, not June 1, July 1, Vanessa Fitsinakis and Takar Kazimov will be tenured members of the College of Pharmacy. And within the College of within the Department of Pharmacy Practice, we had a couple of promotions also. So Dr. Boyle will be, and Alex Hoffman will be both associate professors. So congratulations to all 4 of you. Thank you for your dedication to the college. A great deal of effort has been going into some faculty recruitment, very specifically in the area of pharmaceutical sciences. We've done a lot of work specifically in this area, and I want to thank all the folks on the various committees for all the things you've been doing. It's a lot of hard work. We have been able to very specifically close, and we'll have starting in first week or second week in July, Erin Reed. She's a new faculty member coming in the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. Area of specialty interest is going to be immunology. I think she's going to play a key role specifically in our I&I course, going to be a brand new scientist to add to the staff. I'm pretty sure she's going to contribute some activity to the College of Graduate Studies too. So I think we're very pleased to have Erin come on board. Secondarily, we do have a chair search which is ongoing, and we're chugging our way through that. I don't have anything I can share with you at this point in time, but I can tell you that we're certainly working on a chair search right now. I'm hopeful that within the end of the month we'll have something that we can share. The Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences actually had a strong research history to date. If you think about the path we walked, several years ago, actually, we, the College of Pharmacy at NEOMED, were ranked 140th out of 140. So I'm not saying that's dead last, but it's pretty close to the bottom, okay? And actually, the college completed several recruits, and it actually dramatically improved where we were viewed and what our standings were. And actually, at the end of 2017, I think we were 40th. I looked at the numbers for 18, we were about 44th. But, that continues to change year over year. Unfortunately, we have had some losses within the department itself. So Jason Richardson has left, and he took all of his grants with him. Denise is going to University of North Texas. We'll still talk about that later, okay? I did just by happen to talk to a provost down there about a week ago about that, okay? So our status will change, and that does happen from time to time. But when I look at the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences and area of research, I think we have a solid base. But as I look at this, I think it's time to rebuild. I think we need to rethink where we are. We will continue with our research focus area. That will continue. We just need to get the right people who I think have the right skills, who are durable, who are going to be long-termers for the Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. As a part of that process, Sam has been working on a 2-year plan. And actually, we're going to spend probably the summer to discuss that, to figure out how best to get that up and running and to support the department. In the face of some of the changes in personnel, I think we do have some great comments to talk about some of the grant successes. So just to put a few people on the spot, Vanessa received her first R01, which was from the NIH, and it's worth about $1.8 million. Is that correct? So congratulations with that. I talked to Sheila early in the week. Sheila has a DOD grant, which is pending, which is about $2 million. She's a co-I on that. So she gets half, another person gets a half. They haven't gotten the full notice yet. They're working on the budget to negotiate with the DOD. I asked her if it would be okay if I put this here. I don't want to jinx her getting the grant. I didn't know if that would happen here or not, but I'm just very pleased that Sheila has been successful also. But in addition, there's other people within the college and the departments which have been positive also. Takar continues to be a steady Eddie and continue to get grants and subcontracts. Sam got a nice grant from Foundation for $57,000. We've had great success with students and laboratories. In particular, Prevent Blindness Ohio continues to be a great supporter of the college. Pharmacy Practice has had some great news too. Not enough folks realize all the work that Sue Fosnight does, in particular in the area of geriatrics. And one of the grants that she's been working on for the past year is she's a co-investigator, is worth about $680,000. In addition, they're taking that one grant and actually they submitted for a 5-year version of it, which is worth about $3.5 million. They don't have the results of that yet, but the fact that they're continuing to be productive in this area, I think, is great. If you look at pharmaceutical sciences and you look at the last 9 months, that department has submitted 23 grants to a variety of agencies. And according to the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs, those 23 grants are worth about $12.5 million. So I think they've been very diligent and very productive in a lot of different areas. If they all could hit, that would be huge, okay? We'd be breaking out champagne at the college, okay? But indeed, I think the department has been very busy and productive in the area of research. Where I think we're going in the future, and we're having discussions and dialogue about this now, is the 4th floor of the RGE is about to begin construction. We had some discussions today at a department meeting trying to figure out where we're going and to check the temperature of the department. But I think we're having some discussions about whether the whole department moves up to the 4th floor or maybe parts of it, but that discussion is really beginning. I think the faculty need to jump in at this point in time to decide where it's going to go where and how it's going to all break out. But I think it'd be great to have a brand new home. I look at the 4th floor of the RGE as a tremendous opportunity. If we don't move, we lose an opportunity for some great brand new space. Also, if the department grows into the future with more faculty, that would allow us opportunities for more lab space, more office space. I think this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you don't get it now, you won't be available in years to come. So in terms of the research piece of the puzzle, I think we've had a great year so far with lots of good news. Next piece of the puzzle is what I would call outreach and networking. And this is a key area that I think we do a great job in. One of the things that I think has been fun, and I'll just say that is fun, is a lot of the spiritware that you see us beginning to have around campus, correct? So one of our points of pride really has been our spiritware. And maybe you know it or maybe you don't, but we do have I'll say a chief spiritware officer, so a CSWO or a CSO. So Dr. Brownlee, we want to thank you for all the good things you've done in that area. Okay? So for many folks who walk around, you see many people wearing our our College of Pharmacy jackets, really what we're trying to do is to create our own identity within the college. Be brand sensitive, but create our own identity by doing some fun things. So 2 years ago, after accreditation, we came up with the jackets, and I think that's cool. Many people around campus keep asking me, where are they coming from? What are they about? And we're just being ourselves. I think the most fun thing that I think we've done is this right here, correct? That was year 2. So Dr. Brownlee, I'm not sure how you came up with that. But yeah, it's a gift. But it really is a cool thing. What I never realized is the controversy that it created, correct? Right? Because you remember the original Nate the Whale, right? What did the original Nate the Whale have that this one does not? The hat. So I'm not sure how the hat got cut off, but it's created a lot of fun discussion. Because I never realized there were pro-hatters, and then on the other side of the equation, anti-hatters, okay? But the current pharmacy one is without the hat. But it's been a great discussion point. As Charlie and I have gone out and visited hospital partners this spring, we've completed 21 out of 22 visits so far. We keep taking 25 or 30 and sprinkling them around, and it's been a lot of fun stuff. People enjoy it. It's just been a unique piece of the puzzle, which I think is a lot of fun. I don't know what we're going to do from year 3, but Seth, that'll be up to you. So my best guess is I'm trying to figure out where you keep getting all these ideas, and I think you're probably attending some middle school events and kind of taking that, what you receive there, and bringing it to the NeoMed. So maybe you're operating at the right level, okay? But it's working and it's a lot of fun. You know, when we created the pin, we actually made 3,000 of those. One more time, 3,000 of those. People are going, you're nuts. I'm going, actually, it's only about a 2-year supply, right? And you have 600? Well, actually, what I did was I mailed the first 50 to the College of Medicine, okay? I have not seen anybody wear one yet, but I did, just to make the point. 300 students, 600 alumni, lots of voluntary faculty. It really is about a 2-year supply. And when we visited all those hospital locations, they really have enjoyed it. So it's been fun. Another piece of the puzzle when it comes to outreach is actually script your future. And actually, I was talking to Jackie, I think, over the weekend about script your future, about the history of what we've accomplished to date. And it really is pretty significant. Because Script Your Future is really, it's student-based. It's going out into our community and working on medication adherence issues in a lot of different capacities. The awards that they get really focus in a couple of different areas. One would be media and communication. Second would be health disparities. And third is a National Challenge Award. So those are the 3 areas that they focus their time and effort on. If you look at what we've accomplished, we received an award in 14, we received an award in 15, we received an award in 16, and 17, I'll have to say, was a very special year because we received all 3 awards. NeoMed received all 3 awards in that year. And the picture in the lower right-hand corner really is when we went to Nashville in 2017. And actually, we were on the national stage, and that's the photo they took. And what I find to be really unique is after NeoMed won all 3 awards, they changed the rules, right? And they said, so on a go-forward basis, nobody can ever win all 3 again, okay? So the good news is we've achieved a high level of performance, and we're going to be able to maintain it, okay, because nobody can do it again. And I love the rule change because when I look at it, I call it the Boyle-Krinsky Amendment, okay? So you did some very special things. I'm not surprised we didn't get anything in 18. I thought they would probably, make us skip a year. But we just got notified 2 weeks ago we're going back in July to Chicago because we're going to get another one. So our students and faculty are back on the track. So you have to look at this and you think about our students, the impact on our community, the things they do, and it's incredibly positive. So in terms of outreach, this is probably the purest form of outreach that I can think of. It's also really great to see the impact that our alumni have on our community. And this picture is really good, but what we're talking about here is one such individual is Patrick DeVokie. Patrick today works at University Hospitals. He's at UH Geauga. And what the UH system does on an annual basis is they do patient advocacy awards. So they pick one champion at each of the locations, at all the ring hospitals as well as the main campus, and then all those champions to get together to pick the champion of the champions. Okay, does that make sense? And actually, this year was the first time a pharmacy person was selected, and the first time ever that a champion of the champions was a pharmacy person. But curiously enough, it was Patrick DeVokie. I don't see Jan here today, But I think that if you were to ask her, she's one proud mother at the end of the day. Very pleased that her son had accomplished something like that. The other piece of the puzzle when it comes to outreach and networking, as I mentioned, we had an alumni who was a Pharmacist of the Year, and maybe you did know, maybe you didn't know, but it was Paula Politis from the class of 2013. So Neomed alumni go out and continue to do great things in a lot of different locations. The other thing that really focuses a lot of time and effort on outreach is a lot of the pipeline activities that we do. So we're getting more actively involved in, for instance, Pathway to Pharmacies. It's been a program which Dale English started. Fadi is continuing. But indeed, it does a lot of good things to bring a pharmacy profession to students who might have an interest. That gets supported by a lot of funds from Walgreens. Walgreens has been a strong supporter of this as well as diversity initiatives. I was thinking about over the weekend and was trying to do a calculation. I think they may have donated to the college either at or over $100,000 over the last 10 years or so. We've probably gotten 10 or 12 for the last half a dozen, and they did different amounts before that. But we may have crossed $100,000 worth of donations for programs like Pathways and Outreach and Diversity. Honestly, I think we probably owe them an award at the end of the day. We might need to think about that. Lastly, I think probably the purest form of outreach, which is a shining example, is what we do right on campus with our own pharmacy. Originally it was Ritzman's Pharmacy at Neomed, but because of their purchase by CVS, it is now Rootstown Community Pharmacy. We struggled to figure out what to call it, and we were trying to figure out how best to engage our community on campus as well as off. So if you remember, we did a survey on the name, correct? Many people got that. And actually I thought, well, probably 10, maybe 12 people will submit an answer. In 48 hours, we had 176 people on campus tell us what their thoughts were, which I thought was huge. What Hannah and I discovered in the process was we both selected the name that came in last, okay? So our job is to never do any name selections whatsoever again. But it was a clear-cut majority of folks selected Rootstown Community Pharmacy. I think that's really cool. You will begin to see some changes there in the near future because we are going to be moving our location. We're going to be jumping to the other side of the SUMA facility. And the logic about why we're doing that is what you're going to see occur probably this fall is a new drive-up window is going to be put in. I think that will improve access to our community. I think it'll probably improve the business. The Ritzmans believe that would increase our business by probably a third to a half. So we'll see what it does, but we are going to move. You're going to see us shrink it a little in size just because of the available space. But I think our presence on campus is going to be solidified. It is not going away. I think it's become a very unique part of our ecosystem, and I don't think it's going away. The fourth category that we spent some time on really is kind of what I would call operations and finance. A great deal of time in the last 2 years has been spent specifically in this area. When I think about the areas that we've spent a lot of time to work on, I would just say faculty governance is a big one, correct? 2 years ago, I would have to say the outcry from the college was the lack of faculty governance. I don't know what's going on. Management is not talking to us. We don't get to participate in the discussion. We don't know what the decision is oftentimes until months later. So when I had my 58 30-minute meetings, I think 60% of the people in the college talked about that specific issue. And when you do the tally and you look at the numbers, it was clearly the number one issue. So I think a great deal of effort has been putting into faculty governance. If you look at what we've done as a group, we've talked about a variety of different things. We've talked about and rechanged our non-tenure track bylaws. I think that helps all of our non-tenure track faculty. We're now continuing part 2 of that. We're going to do the voluntary faculty members next. We did a lot of org chart revisions. We created our education arm. We've had a variety of faculty committees working on all the hirings that have been going on in a lot of different areas. We talked in doing some roundtables about the growth from 300 to 400. What are the issues there? We talked about services from the Dean Suite that the college really should need. And I think you're going to continue to see that type of a pattern. I think it's been a great year in that area. I think a lot of folks have a lot of great ideas and want to actively participate, and I truly appreciate that piece of the puzzle. On any given day, trust me, I don't have all the answers, and I think we're better off as a team working together than we are just having one person make all the decisions. The other piece of the puzzle, which is a fundamental change in our operation, is really how the college handles finances at the end of the day. My predecessor had a very specific vision, and what he really liked is centralized financing. So everybody, if you wanted something, had to come to the mountain. and you had to go to a single source to get whatever you needed within the college. My experience and my philosophy is the exact opposite. I really truly believe in decentralized budgeting. So what I've done in the past year is really meet with individual departments or offices to talk about what your needs are, come up with what those budgets are, and then here's your money for the year. Spend it wisely and well. And I think that has worked relatively well. I think it takes, it adds clarity and transparency to the process. I think it gives people the ability to do their job and not have to ask every day. It works generally well most days. What I have done is actually I put just a safeguard in place just in case there was large amounts of carryover. I think you should be able to keep some of your carryover. I think some people run their offices or departments really efficiently. But I think the value of having 10% carryover is that it carries over to next year. So next year, if you have a need and it wasn't in the budget, you have some, I'll just say a bit of a slush fund to do those things with. So for instance, if you had an average office budget of 50 grand, you could carry over 5 grand for stuff to help you next year. I think that's nice. But I think that's been one big fundamental change within the college itself. The focus for what's coming next, I think, is probably the last piece of the puzzle. I just have 3 or 4 slides on this. I think in the next year, probably the biggest discussion you're going to see is the enrollment growth to 400. We started talking about that at the roundtable a month or so ago, and I think the question and why it was there in front of the faculty is this the right thing to do? If you remember, we talked about 4 issues related to that specific topic. So number 1, what is the optimal number? You know, Dr. Gershon looks at this and says, Rick, you need to go from 3 to 4. The answer is, yeah, maybe, okay? And so the question which really we discussed, I'm not sure we arrived at the answer, is, so what is the optimal number? Number 2, what are the barriers? To grow by a third is huge. Okay, you're talking of potentially classes of up to 100. So you need to think about, what are the barriers? Personnel, resources, classrooms, just stuff, right? What are the resources you will need? And what problems are you going to run into along the way that we should be able to predict? I thought that was a healthy discussion. As a piece of that puzzle, earlier this month, I had the opportunity to meet with the Board of Trustees to talk about that issue. Jay had a whole bunch of issues, and he selected that one for a 10-minute discussion with the Board of Trustees. I drafted a set of slides. I got some help with my slides, so thank you for that. We think so dramatically different when it comes to slide development. I was given 12 minutes for my presentation, which was huge. I'm not sure I can talk in 12 minutes. I did it in 9, and then there was 10 minutes worth of dialogue from the trustees. A lot of positive things, a lot of good solid Q&A. They're looking at it. No decision, positive or negative, was made at that point in time, but I think they looked at the opportunity positively. A piece of the puzzle that I think is critical for me and critical for the colleges, I'm not willing to enroll 25, 50, 75 students with the hope that more money is coming. Not willing to do that. So what we set up and the plan that was proposed is really milestone based. When we hit a milestone, we get paid. We'll see how that ultimately comes out. We had a meeting yesterday, and I had another one today with Jay. Actually, today I had my performance appraisal, so this was the closer. So what do you think about the plan? And we will probably in the next month or so begin to grind it down to what it might look like. I think in the very near future, we're at a point in time where we need to make decisions for this year. So if it's going to go forward, we need to know probably the next 4 weeks or so is my best guess. We're doing well admissions-wise. We just had an interview day last Friday, so we have the potential for more offers. So if it's going to go, we need to know really soon so we can either extend more offers or put the brakes on, one or the other. But the big question from the trustees is why now? And the answer, I think, was easy. Number 1, if you look at our academic pedigree, that's huge. What our students have created upon graduation in terms of NAPLEX is well known. Number 2, it's just not a one-off. It's been sustained. I think that's the single word which I'm really pleased and proud of. Number 2, I think the applicant market for us is ripe. And we've been doing P1 surveys for the last 2 years trying to figure out why NeoMed, why do they come here? And we've learned a bit more about why they come to NeoMed and what they respond and react to. And we've been using that marketing tool, that marketing information, to readjust our message to really pound it down and pound it hard about why NeoMed. And I think it's working. I think our reduction in the non-resident surcharge is huge. Previously, the surcharge was basically double your tuition out of state, if you were from out of state. And if you looked at what we were charging non-residents versus what they could get in their own home state, it was huge. We basically, if you wondered why we were a 90-10 school, that was it, okay? Because we were getting very few people from out of state. We've been a 90-10 school, 85-15 for years. This past year, we brought in about 35, 36 students from out of state, so the reduction in the surcharge makes us highly competitive and very attractive for students out of state. I think the timing is important. You know, the question from the president is, so how long is it going to take? And the answer is, well, at least 4 years. And the answer is, what? Why 4 years? And the answer is, well, 4 classes of 100 would do it, okay? But the answer is probably more like 4 to 6. It is not something you're going to do overnight. I think we as a group need to talk, plan, prepare to figure out what we need in terms of resources and when we're going to need it before we actually can move forward. The university is looking at all sources of new revenue. This is a new source of revenue to the university, but it also is going to have some hooks in it. We, the college, of that $5 million we would generate, we, the college, probably would need at least half. So what I've been saying is about $2.5 million for 100 new students. I think that's about right. So we'll see where we end up. The other piece of the puzzle is our strategic plan. We're at the end of year one, and I think we need to step back and do an analysis of what we've accomplished in year one. I think a lot of good things have happened, and I think there is more coming down the road. What I've been amazed with is I figured out how to squeeze $250,000 out of the college to do this. And I hate to say this, but I'm not sure that we've spent enough money, okay? I don't have the final total yet, but I think we are way under $100,000, okay? And not that I'm asking you to spend more money, but I think if you have good ideas, if you think you've got a plan that would help us go from A to B to C to D, or A to D faster, I think you'd be welcome to look at any and all of those items. That would be very helpful for us. The money which is there in these core areas is very specifically put there to help the college grow. And I think any idea, any plan, any proposal will be viewed positively and welcome. So I think we need to do a lot of work in some key areas, and I think that's our tool to get it done. Another piece of the puzzle which I think we need to be mindful of is, you know, it just seems like ACPE was just here, right? Okay, but that was in 2016. The reason why I have this chart here is I think in the next 5 years, they'll be here in about 5 years, correct? I think we need to be very thoughtful and very mindful about what we should be doing in the next 5 years. I think traditionally, most colleges wait till about 2 years before and you start your self-study. And my gosh, I have to tell you, having been through multiple cycles here, it always feels like it's too late. It seems like we should have started years ago. So the logic behind this diagram, and I'm not sure what kind of a diagram it is, but I think we ought to be doing a 20% review every year. So if we start now and we work 20% a year, we do 3 to 5 standards a year, 3 to 5 standards a year. When they come back in 5 years, a big chunk of the work will have been done. We will have identified areas that are going great and we can talk about them. We will have identified some areas that we've done not so good in and we can fix them. I think at the end of the day, the job that will have to occur in 5 years will be so much less and we'll be in a much better spot. It'll almost just be looking at the 5 years of review and summarizing those to come up with our narrative for ACPE. But I think the emphasis that you're going to see is really kind of a plan or proposal for which standards we're going to do for each of the next 5 years. And I think that'll just make the job a whole lot easier at the end. I always just seem to be too uncomfortable and too hurried with the job that was being done. I think that's all I had. 45 minutes, so I'm right on time. Let me just open up the floor to questions. Patrick. So the board is really very positive overall about the growth and expansion of the class size, as I expected they would. They look at it as new revenue. They look at it as growth. They think that the university needs to continue to grow in all the areas that we have. So the fact that we could was viewed positively. A lot of the Q&A which came from the Board of Trustees members really was, so how would you do it? Talk about your market? What resources do you need? Really common questions that you could really easily predict. But I didn't hear any negative comments whatsoever from the Board of Trustees. Steve, you were in the audience. I was at the podium. Your thoughts? You know, I had a meeting yesterday with Jay, and what Jay asked for really is for year one, what would a pro forma look like for your needs for year one to support the growth? And I think that's a very reasonable request. So, and I think why you said that is that I was really putting my foot down on the gas to say, hey, listen, we need to make a decision in the next couple of weeks. Either we're going to shut down, more offers and turn them all into alternates, or we're going to take we're going to put our foot on the gas pedal to drive them all in. If you think about it, what could happen in the next probably 2 months is we just graduated our smallest class, correct? We graduated 66. So if by chance we brought in 90, right, that would be plus 24. And we ended the year around 307-ish or so. And we had some students come back from leave of absences, plus a few repeaters. So we could be well past 325, believe it or not. So the reason why I'm applying a little bit of pressure is to say, hey, it could happen now, or it can happen in a year from now. Help me make that decision. What do you want to do? And so that's why he asked for a pro forma. So if we do it, this fall, at the end of the fall and beginning of the spring, the money will be there, right? So all the tuition will have been paid by the end of those 2 semesters. So it will be available for us. But I think what Jay wants to see really is some thoughtful planning. So what are you going to need? Where are the biggest issues? How much is it going to cost? He is trying to be very positive, trying to continue to support the college as well as the university, but also being a bit mindful that he's an exiting president. Okay. And I think maybe one of his concerns, and we talked about this briefly yesterday, is are you concerned about making a decision that kind of takes a commitment that goes on to the next person, whoever that might be as president? And his answer was no, not really. If it makes sense, it makes sense to me or to whoever follows. So I think he's willing to have some ongoing dialogue. But we, probably a group of us, have to do some homework in the next week or so to figure out what those resources might be. Don't have to be finalized, not down to the penny. I think he just wants an idea of if you were to get $600,000 or $625,000, where would you spend it and how would it go? Marissa?
I was just going to ask if we're going forward with any efforts to recruit international students.
So the question for the tape is, where are we with recruiting international students? And the answer is our second visa that we need to do more active recruiting for international students is still pending. That was submitted by Victor, I think, about 2 years ago. And with the changes of a lot of international stuff that's ongoing with selected countries, I'll just say like China, our approval of, I think it's the F visa, has been slow and has not occurred yet. So, and I actually strongly promoted the international program. And the reason is I grew up in upstate New York. There's probably 4 or 5 colleges that are in the western tip of New York State. They go through Niagara Falls into Canada, and they all recruit 20 or 25 students a year. And they don't have to fly to China. They're just going to Niagara Falls at the end of the day. So if they can do it, well, my gosh, then so couldn't we. We don't have to get on a plane and fly for 16 hours, do we? Sam? We'll see. The question is will the new regulations affect our current students? For the students, I don't really think so. They're coming over for educational programs. They get their visas approved pretty quick. Where the slowdown has always been, and it may be even longer, or for instance with the faculty members. Traditionally, the students, when they apply for their visas, get approved within a couple of weeks. The faculty members each year seems to be like months. And with the changes with the regs in China or tariffs which might be pending, you might expect that could be prolonged. So there's always been a little bit of delay between the arrival of students versus faculty. We'll see in this next cycle. Another trip? I don't think I'm going to the embassy to talk to them, no. But on that point, we did get an invitation this year. They'd love some more NeoMed faculty to come over and teach for a week. It's a unique experience. So I'm looking for volunteers. If I don't find volunteers next year, we'll be assigning voluntold, okay? But they're looking for 2 to come over. And Dr. Brownlee and I can share our experience. We're at the same place. We had subtly different experiences. But it'd be a unique experience. Other questions? Thank you very much.